We're kind of waiting for Michael. We'll just go ahead and keep moving on.
Okay.
Are we recording?
Yes.
Okay. If you would please stand and join us for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
First item is Port's regular business. What have you got for us, or do you want to go directly into the DES and O1E?
Well, regular business wise, we're getting the bathrooms, the pressure valve installed on Monday.
Okay,
It was supposed to be done this week, but there was a delay on the parts. So that should allow us to investigate further, how we're going to, address whether we replace the flushometers or not. After we reduce the pressure and see if we can get them to start behaving. It's good when toilets behave.
slap them around, that would be nice.
Sure. And then, the DES and One Washington Government Services,
Mhm.
I got a call back from them yesterday. After I submitted the paperwork, it's not something that can work for us. It's only for state agencies.
Okay,
And it would be great if it could.
all right.
It would save us $10,000 a year,
Okay,
but that's why we looked into it. But
Okay.
it's not an option for us.
no.
And they don't have any plans to extend it to local municipalities at this time.
Well, darn.
What's this?
Well, we got started. We are on the DES and O1E or one, Washington Government Services. Take a look at that.
So I don't have any documents for the payables and receivable log sheets currently, but John and I were discussing having it on the agenda for a workshop. And I think that it's something that's in the office's thought process right now.
Okay,
And we're gonna work something up for that. We do have some additional documents that might kind of aid those along when we get into talking about budgeting and
Okay.
cash forecasting, trial balance.
so that'll be for the next workshop.
No, that'll be at the end of this one.
Oh,
We're
okay.
just not down that part.
Okay, great.
So this won't work. I was walking your talking about it won't work.
Yeah,
for us?
this is just for your information, the briefing,
Yeah.
so that,
Yeah, take a look at your,
But they won't work for us.
no, this is,
Oh.
these documents, the one Washington and the DES,
that.
the Department of Enterprise Services.
Oh, okay.
It would have been a perfect fit for us, but they only supply it to state agencies, not smaller
Municipalities.
Okay.
If we move on to item C on the regular port business,
Mhm.
pay.gov.
Yep,
We're gonna have more information for you on that for the regular meeting, because we're gonna want to discuss action on it.
okay,
This is how we are going to be able to integrate our website with a pay option. So that
oh,
the water
really?
system customers can go on there and actually make their payments on our website,
great,
rather than calling into the office and
Absolutely.
soaking up
time,
6 to 8 hours a month. You know, because it literally takes 15 minutes to process a card when you have to go and open up the software, find their account number, then go open up the actual the payment system online, and then everything has to be done manually because we're taking our card numbers over the phone because we can't keep any of that information.
How much does this one cost?
We don't know yet. There's literally, I just got the information yesterday,
All right,
or not yesterday, but 2 days ago, the day that I sent these out. So it's, just haven't had time trying to do some other items.
super, but at least
But
it's
it is on the radar for the office to start to explore.
great.
It's there's some other avenues to it too, and it's actually, pay.gov is kind of like sam.gov.
Okay,
It's like a federal system that allows governments and small governments to be able to do processing in a secure manner on websites.
great. I know probably you don't know this. Is it pretty secure for other people to use, or do they the pay.gov is just the middleman kind of.
So they're the one that literally gives you the process to set it up
Okay,
through the secure system that they recommend.
So
Okay.
you're all the way around.
Yes,
great.
just like we use certified payments, and certified payments is one of a few card processing firms
Okay,
that are certified by governments to use for gov.
okay,
So we can't just go and they're actually pay.gov actually has a partnership with PayPal. You can actually run stuff through PayPal,
really?
but you have to, it's a special form of PayPal. It's not the PayPal you and I.
Correct, okay. All right. Super, thank you.
Sure. Any questions on regular business and or administrative improvements that I added to it?
No.
No,
Of course, I'm sure I'll have more to offer in coming workshops there. Water system development, this will probably be the bulk of our day.
When are we gonna talk about the budget, Travis?
That's actually the additional topics on the backside.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
and we can always segue into it if it's relevant to what we're talking about.
All right, that's fine.
Memory care engineering, there has been several, well, not several, there's been a couple emails back and forth with their primary builder,
mm-hmm,
general contractor. The last one I sent off, I think, last week, haven't heard back yet. We sent them a large punch list, or Jeff helped me with a list of items to send off, and
how many items, if you don't mind me asking?
20,
Small or big, small and big? Have you gotten a hold of the Jamesons about it yet, or? Okay,
I haven't heard anything, just using the board's policies, construction policies, and then things I run into my system, then I just went at it. And I gave it an hour or so and
okay,
came across, as a non-engineer, about 24 items.
ouch. Okay,
And, some are big, it's like philosophical also, like the issue of backfill prevents.
right,
If the
those are,
design that they're showing, they go through, one of them is for an 8-inch line, or maybe it's 6, we can't tell for sure the drawing. But if it's an 8-inch line, this little Hummer's 72 inches long. It has to be outside, so it has to be in a box, it has to be kept from freezing. They have no space where they're talking about bringing the water to do that. And Travis and I have discussed some, well, I'll say quasi, who's gonna be responsible, philosophical. From my standpoint, when I was running a water purveyor, I wanted to make sure anything and everything that dealt with quality control and health, I had some control on, because if it goes bad, I'm the one that's gonna
Pay the price.
yeah. So I've noticed in a lot of water systems, I don't know all, but I've looked at a number. And, with Bremerton or Shelton or others, they seem to put the responsibility that the owner pays for the test, fine. Does its annual test, fine, presents it to whoever the water purveyor is.
Yep.
The problem is, okay, so, but it's not clear, like if that backflow preventer fails,
who's responsible?
or, like, does the water purveyor do the repairs, or does the owner do the repairs? And to me, it just seems like,
I think with mine, because I have a backflow with Duffer Water, and I think I'm responsible.
okay, but so that's great, but I mean, just take a bad situation, say those bad contaminates water. Does that property owner have the liability insurance to cover a problem? Probably not. And so my impression is that water providers are lazy. In that they want to only do so much, and then, I get it, there's time, there's only so much time you can do these things.
Most cost too,
Right,
like,
but at the same time, I think the court should take at least a serious look where that demarcation of responsibility is, because it's like, I don't want the board, when I was running the system, I don't want more accountability than I have to, but at the same time, in the end, I have insurance to cover the water system. So in the end, I want to kind of control what's happening to it.
Well, we'll talk, I think we should talk about that one for sure.
But that's an example
Yeah.
of one of the 24. That
Ouch.
one's a bigger one,
Yeah,
but there's some smaller ones like placement, like your description says when you run a pipe and then run it for like, say, for a fire flow, and you run into a structure, when you tee off with a fire hydrant,
mhm,
if it's 20 or less feet, it's supposed to be this, if it's 20 or more, well, they're like 24 feet. And so they got the wrong size. So when you go longer length, you're supposed to increase the diameter of the pipe.
Mhm.
The problem is where they also put it, they met the requirement for if you had a telephone pole with power on it, which is like 5 feet or 6 feet from that.
mhm,
But if you got a transformer sitting right here looking you in the eye and you're right beside it,
yeah,
5 feet's not very far from water. It's not a warm and fuzzy feeling there.
okay,
Water and electricity usually do not mix well.
Not usually.
That's
So
Okay.
that's just an idea of the types of things we're gonna.
okay,
not a good idea.
So, yeah, what, my plan is before the Friday, of course, is to send them, another email, of course, and a phone call, because I have his number.
mhm,
Kind of prod the issue, because I know that I was under the impression they wanted to start building here pretty soon. I mean, really soon. And we have these issues that the port hasn't been able to address yet.
okay,
Other than that, kind of a holding pattern on the memory care until we have more answers.
okay,
But like Jeff was saying, that cross control is a big thing, and there's going to have to be a pretty dedicated piece in the development contract, so that they understand what the port's responsibility is for cross control and what their responsibility is for cross control.
do you have our contracts
So
done yet?
does that go back?
So I have a partially constructed contract that was some of the new items that are paperclipped.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
So that we can discuss here
Gotcha.
towards the end of talking about the
Okay,
water system.
super.
Contractors.
okay,
Moving on to West Sound Engineering for, we've made that approval on Monday.
mhm,
So we've got that in motion. They're gonna be a week or two before they start working on it. It's getting that pre-contracting, remember how you said you were interested in showing up for that pre-contracting meeting? They should get back to me, I think Monday. When that date is going to be. They sent me 3 different
25th,
days and
26th,
asked
27th.
everyone to say which one works best for you. Kind of like a lot of the system. So,
So I do 25th and 20 or.
Yeah.
25th, 27th, yeah,
yeah.
26th, one of those days
I
doesn't
think
work
that,
well.
yeah, it's Wednesday. It doesn't work well for you.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was the same thing. Not much else to talk about there,
Okay.
until we have more information and we have some progress. We're kind of holding there. Kitsap Housing, that is moving pretty quick. They are gonna be interested in the next, probably less than a month, in getting water availability letters for their second phase. Now, we have plenty of capacity, of course, to supply them. The issue is that a lot of this engineering was done with very little port oversight in the past. So part of what we sent over to West Sound Engineering was their engineering from Northwest Water. We sent some of that over to Northwest so that they could spend an hour just reviewing it and
mhm,
giving us an
West
opinion. West Sound, yeah, correct, West.
you heard back from them yet?
No, because they haven't been able to start yet. But we
Okay.
just sent the contract
Okay.
over. We're in the queue of their work, so.
All right,
But there's also a new builder I won't say new builder because we kind of heard, squibbles of it, but JDK Builders has got 4 duplexes he wants to put in and has been in partnership with Kitsap Housing to do the engineering on the booster pumping station. Because it would supply his homes too,
Okay,
okay? So I made contact with him this week and kind of laid down some ground rules.
when did you find out about him? It's been a
Yeah.
while?
Yeah, it's been a month or so.
Two problems.
Yeah.
One is, I didn't know who it was, but I got word of it last August.
Okay,
When Larry and Ryan and I and Debbie were meeting about our water system. And that's where, I kind of got a little pain in the butt for Larry because you want me to design, you want me to, at that point in time, you wanted me to build the booster when I sold my system. And he's got a side booster thing going on here, which just truncates, even if you forget the feasibility, it truncates, it reduces the feasibility, is what I'm trying to say.
okay,
And so I was kind of a little frustrated with that, to put it mildly,
Understandable.
and then, okay, so, but nothing hasn't been talked about until like a couple of months ago it came up. So it's one of those, where they should have been in touch with the port way earlier on, and so there's a design, I'm not saying the design is, there's any problem with it.
you haven't seen the
Well,
design?
I looked at it.
Oh, you did, okay,
Travis showed
Yeah,
it to me.
we got it all over, reviewed a bit of it.
There's some questions about some things, but the bottom line is, like you're saying earlier in the meeting, that an engineer type really needs to look at it and see if there's any other block line. I looked at it from the standpoint of your policies, your procedures, and what I've experienced, and applied some notes to that, but
You're okay with it from that standpoint?
from that standpoint, other than this is one of those things that should have been really spec'd out in the beginning, because there could have been a whole different way to
Yeah.
approach it. Because my experience is the less variables, meaning equipment parts and pieces.
Okay.
That you have
Yeah.
to stock, spare, or whatever, it's just gonna be easier to run a system.
Yeah.
And so now they got another pump house. With another power meter. With another point of, insurance, contact, the whole 9 yards. That's gonna be put on an easement. It's not.
yeah, I'd like to
it's-
see that,
It's
those-
not pretty.
yeah, I'd like to see those plans,
It's
I don't,
functional,
okay,
it'll work. It's not overkill in the sense of how it conveys water to these users, unless they have to sprinkle, then they might have to boost, no pun intended, boost it more. Cause it's really, looks like it's delivering for purveying water, normal use of water, shower baths, all
I
that
was
kind of stuff.
not aware of the full scope of that, quite
Right.
frankly, and so this is so out of control.
Right, and the problem is not an issue, but there needed to be that, again, that look at it from the standpoint, okay, let's just say we build it.
Yeah,
And they build it, they pay for it and all that.
yeah.
Okay, so there's a process, they have to turn it over to the court and then kill it. And there's a process, and basically, there's no evaluation of, okay, what's adjacent, what's around it, are we ever gonna have to extend?
Yeah,
Those kind of questions, and I know from Travis having to contact him, that, you're gonna have to get a letter from.
Lakeland and
Yeah,
Washington,
and
yeah,
I told him that over the phone and also put it in an email.
yeah,
Make sure that you do get those letters.
Yeah.
We can't do anything for you until we know that they are
Are-
willing to provide.
right,
yeah.
And on the sprinkler end, he also sent me a thread, with his conversations back and forth with the fire marshal. That they won't need the sprinkler because they're going to consider that hydrant from Lakeland. As fire flow for them.
Hmm.
And then there's gonna be a hydrant on the new section of Kitsap Housing that takes care of their stuff.
okay, cool.
But there's just a number of variables that need to really be looked at.
What's the county requirement for for so many homes and distance wise for hydrants?
It's like 500 feet.
Rough.
I thought when we were working with Searland Homes, it was 400, but I noticed in the
Yeah, I heard-
report,
yeah.
it's 500.
Yeah, I heard it over the meeting that I had today. It was 500.
So is
But-
that happening?
Yes, that's happening, but the other issue that has to be looked at is. And I don't know the balance between this, is that if you go, I think it's 150 feet, it's either 150 or 200 feet at more than 14 or 15% grade.
Mhm.
Then you're required to sprinkle the houses. I haven't,
Yes,
it's like they have that clause, and then they have this clause about 500 feet for the fire hydrant.
Okay.
I can't, they're not tied together, in other words, in the
Yeah.
words are not tied together,
I see.
because in theory, whether you have the fire hydrant or tanker, and it's right next door, you're still, have that elevation issue.
Yeah,
And so do you still require, sprinkling? Because in the back part of this plat, you will have that issue,
Hmm.
potentially of sprinkling.
Yeah.
Again, there's probably a fire hydrant on the Lakeland side, but then again, now you're starting to cross private properties and different things, and so it's kind of another one of those loose ends.
okay.
Okay. Well, keep us posted then.
Yeah, and then basically we took care of items C and D together.
Okay.
That's that thousand and the
Can we-
JDK builders.
Can I just do a quick pause to make sure that this doesn't get away from what? So when it comes to, are we gonna talk about our water policy today too at all? Was that in the mix of this?
I mean, it's all part of water here. The
Unless
entire
you want to talk about
water
some
system
of that.
development. We absolutely can.
I didn't want to, so I don't want to take up any time and interrupt anything with the flow we're doing, but just at some point, I just want to, it's not that I have any specifically I want to talk about with water policy. I just want how we're gonna start addressing our policy, how we're gonna start looking at making changes to it.
Yeah.
Like what, for,
And-
make a plan to start doing that, if you will,
Okay,
at the very
to
least.
go over the
And that's
policy.
where I want to bring Jeff into that, our consultants. And, I'm not wanting to take advantage of you, Jeff, but I want to have that discussion.
Sure you
and
are.
See where we're at with it. Well, I do, but not beyond your, what's fair, that's all. Okay. So, that's all.
Okay,
And that will segue, of course, into the development agreement at the bottom. And then we have Red
Okay.
Road Construction, the last of our contractors. It's currently got things going on, and he's just putting an individual house. He paid us last month for his connection fees and such. So we will just keep in touch with him on how everything's gonna get back to us the way it needs to. It's not a huge development per se.
okay.
Development agreement, that's one of the items that's in the paperclip section that I didn't get done until basically last night.
You should rephrase that. He's not done.
I know what he
Right,
meant.
yeah, right, no, it is not done,
Yeah.
it is a draft, and then there you'll also see as you go through the development agreement, you'll get to a point where there's some
Okay.
yellow highlighted items, those are the ones I have not done anything to yet.
I get it, it's in
So-
progress.
Everything is working.
And Jeff
Straight like
reviewed
this.
it, and so, we talked about it a little bit this morning, I mean, there's lots of items in here that we will need to kind of go over and maybe retailer a little bit. From a developer standpoint, that some of it might be a little bit cumbersome. And this is a culmination of using a template from the Silverdale Water System and also taking provisions from Belfair Water Systems contractor agreement.
Now, my understanding is we're a whole lot cheaper than Belfair,
We are a whole lot cheaper than Belfair.
and we're cheaper than pretty much anybody around.
No, I wouldn't say we're cheaper than pretty much everybody around, but
We're not smart. You gotta keep that low.
we're definitely not, I mean, it seems like the direction of the larger water systems are going pretty heavy into costs. And maybe they have a reason for that, but maybe they don't. Maybe they just are looking, I don't know. I can't speak to other water systems.
Well, my only reason, I know we have contractors or developers that want us to lower our costs. We're already,
You want me to give you one example why we need to look at this a little bit also? One issue is that we have something called the Plat of Allyn, which is a unique feature in zoning and easements and all this kind of thing. So that's one factor, and as an example. It talks about easements, there's different parts of it, like the easement agreement portion. Talks about you legally define the parcel, but if you read it through, it's basically free rein to put the utility anywhere. That's not gonna fly real well.
In the agreement?
So we go behind that. we have, there's actually
Okay.
3 different agreements.
And I'm gonna kind of jump between
Okay,
all three,
Okay.
all three.
Now, the easement agreement, I literally took the entire Bellfire water easement agreement and plugged in our information, just
okay,
as a starting base. And that's where, some of Jeff's concerns are coming up with, because it's, like you said, the plat is a unique animal up here. It is not the same as Bellfire, build out as a whole.
I'm not saying that my easements were perfect, and they're not. But you really need to look at that because you're having to consider the fact that people own this property that everybody uses. And technically speaking, in the case of water, most of these are stopping at the property line, the port's responsibility. So the easement is really in the right of way. So it's a whole different
Gotcha.
animal
yeah,
than being on their.
yeah, on their property, yeah,
So that's one another issue is that, like, one of the things that comes up about being, that in effect, developer, contractor, whatever, can't be within 10 feet of your water line without, agreement.
Let's say, again, I'm sorry, so what cannot be within 10 feet?
Another contractor or another utility cannot be within 10 feet,
Oh, okay,
which is a problem.
okay,
That will not work in the plat of Allyn. It will not work with this, kids have housing. It will not work with JDK.
because it's so tight,
Because
so
it's
close
close.
already.
Right, and for what that means right off the bat, it's not really a 10-foot easement you're asking for, it's a 20-foot easement. Proper.
Oh, because it's on both sides? Okay,
And
I see.
like, when I put in utilities, yeah, we'll notify that we're in the area, we're doing these kind of things, but there's rules in order to have it located. You come up, obviously, if they mess up your utility, they're liable.
Yeah,
Like in the case, let's say they disturb what they call a thrust block,
okay,
which is like in a corner of where, like, the water line that comes down the tank and it makes a 90-degree turn at Blackwell.
all right,
There's a thrust block there so that when forces are coming at it, it resists, so it doesn't move.
okay,
Well, if they disturb, let's just say they didn't touch your line, but they disturb,
Yeah.
digging something in the intersection.
it'll affect it.
That would soften the back support of this, with its thrust blocks, depending on, that's a liability. So all I'm getting at is that this is gonna take a little more time to grind through, because you don't have to do this. The way this agreement comes across, and I understand where it's coming from. It's coming to like a monopoly, meaning I'm God and this is how it's gonna be. It's how it reads, you know what I'm saying? And I have trouble with that, because to me, agreements should be cooperative in nature, to start if you can.
Gotta start somewhere though.
Yeah. I mean, there's rules and regs, but what I'm getting at is, and things when you construct and what you do or don't do,
Okay,
but it's not really taking into consideration. I mean, when we dig across PUD 3, we let them know we're coming across the top of them, but there's rules that, you locate it and you come up to a point and the rest is hand digging. And then you may go past it, then you're back to the machine. I was pointing out also that additionally, when you have a contractor digging, because I'm doing this with the as-built, I'm preparing for the court. I always, when somebody's open, if I could, I try to get the data when we're crossing, so that they would know. For example, if we do an extension agreement with me to extend for Red Door up there in the northwest part, the extension from the booster is gonna go across a 12-inch force main sewer line, the main trunk of, North Bay. It's gonna be probably 3 feet above their line. It's gonna have to be sleeved, all those wonderful things. But, and so when I do that, or any contractor does that, you should be giving them the numbers, not only what you're doing, so to speak, but what's in your vicinity. I
mhm,
don't mean all utilities, I don't mean power and stuff like this, but I mean,
put an as-built type,
but especially water and sewer,
mhm,
to a lesser degree, stormwater. Those three really cannot intermix.
absolutely,
And everybody, and there's another thing too, there's a whack that requires us to do these as-bills. But I'm saying the port, in addition, because of how things are tight up in the flat and other areas, that when you're digging, excavating, and putting in these utilities, a requirement should be in the contract that you come across, you identify and record, and have the elevation and the location.
Yeah, that's a good idea to make sure that they do that, document everything.
Because time and time again, it's forced me to update mine to get it more precise. Because when we put in our water system, just like the port when they put in, nobody took numbers. Nobody.
Yeah,
And then I came across this and then the state required me to do it, but they didn't require the port to do it. And so every time I came across your line or other facilities, I would just start to log things or even when they exposed it, I would triangulate and say, okay, even though I didn't have a survey, at least know that the line is really right there.
Right.
And as time goes on, your as-bills get more and more precise. So, anyway. So there's some word in my observation,
yeah, for sure.
and yet I do understand the need to take care of these three parties. But, I'm not saying do simpler to begin with, but you gotta be careful how complex we go and where we're going complex. And really, maybe should focus on what we're running into with these three initially. And then a side note comes up, came to mind. If you have a developer that's doing duplexes, is he running that as a commercial or is he doing this as residential?
My opinion, residential.
You got it,
What's the zoning up there?
it allows it.
Okay,
But what I'm getting at is, yes, it has one corporation that's running eight facilities,
commercial,
yeah,
true.
and so.
Yeah, it's a
Does he
question.
plan on selling it? Does he plan on selling it later?
He didn't say.
That's interesting.
So,
Okay.
see, this is the weirdness, when I say weirdness, this is the
Yeah.
detail that, we should always be looking at.
Yeah,
I didn't have this problem because I didn't have any duplexes, I only had 14 connections, plus. And, and basically, it wasn't an issue.
yeah,
But as you grow and have these different opportunities, there's, like you're asking about the review, there probably should be. They're quarterly or annually looking at, okay, what causes problems this year with contracts or policies? Have staff make it, I'm not saying solve the problem right then and there, but then look at it and say, okay,
Yeah.
what? Because you don't want to spend all your time having
No.
them for anybody for policies, because you can go forever.
yeah, no,
Right.
but all these things play into our processing, the changes and whatever.
Right, because see, depending on what goes on
Let's
here,
start doing it.
there might be only 4 meters, not 8, like they're thinking.
Yeah, no, I think they're trying to they're trying to consolidate their meters.
Right, but the way that, what the
If
design,
they consolidate their meters, they have 1 meter supplies two residences, then it's gonna be commercial.
right, but I'm saying the way their design is, they kind of laid it out like there's 8 meters. So see, again, we got this
Yeah,
between design and what's going on and what is, and,
Because if it was commercial, they'd want to put in a meter ahead of all 8 of those meters.
yeah,
So that, we bill them one commercial price and then they charge their constituents, people that are renting.
the tenants,
Their
yeah.
tenants, right, for water on.
that's sorry. It gets more involved, so.
Well, it's the landlord, it'd be better to have independent meters.
Yeah.
That way at least,
Yeah, my
Yeah.
parents are running into that problem currently.
yeah. Okay. Next item then, are we?
One more
Go
item
through?
on that note, the bill of sale for water extension improvements that I kind of,
Mhm.
used from, Buffalo Water. It's important that we have a paper trail for owning these water lines. Currently, the developers have been allowed to stick them in the ground and then nothing else comes of it.
Great, hey, this is nice.
It's something that would be required that the developers do or sign up for,
Mhm.
knowing that they're gonna, and it would also give us. There would also be the warranty worked into there, so whatever, I haven't looked at what the policy says, but Belfair Water uses 2 years from the date that they have to guarantee the workmanship.
Gotcha.
Another thing
See,
before
it's-
Jeff goes, is, we should be requiring a standardization of materials. We don't want the cheapest materials being put in there because the contractor is using the self-install option and trying to get it in the cheapest as possible. We need to have a standardization for the materials that are installed in our water system.
Yeah, I would
So we
agree,
know that what we're gonna get out.
but it,
Different
my-
water lines have different,
I have a question though, if your standardization is important, but there are only certain manufacturers and do you wanna, can we provide lists of other manufacturers?
The idea would be to provide them a list of options,
Okay,
not just say, you can only put in X.
okay, yes,
I'm, as, on their side of the point of view, I wouldn't nail down manufacturers, I just give specs of, what the pipe. Like, for example, the port uses, and I've since started using, it's like C900, it comes in 3 grades. And so you just gotta, specify, and as long as you use that spec, then whether it's, Eagle pipe or, something
okay,
else.
gotcha, well, that's better,
C900 of this grade or better.
yeah, okay,
And there's factors that you can call it out, but then, it's the same thing as far as, valves, it's the same thing as meter, you're trying to have quality product at the same time, you're trying to standardize so that you're not sparing everything known to man, you're sparing all, stuff that will work with what you got.
Right.
The less spares you have, the less is dedicated to that reserve.
I get that, yep. Okay,
The other point is making to Travis about that bill of sale is we should look at it from a legal standpoint, which is the best for the port, meaning, is it a bill of sale, is it a conveyance, or is it a dedication, or is it a gift? In other words, and what the impact of each one of those are, because in my mind, before you say bill, they're creating a drawing. That should be what the bill of sale is representing, with the as-built as the follow-up, because things change, in construction. Because the way their bill of sale is, I don't know where the hell I am. They talk about length of pipe, you have no frame of reference, is what I'm trying to say. If you have a drawing, and this is part of it, then you at least know where you're going and what you're being conveyed, gifted, dedicated, sale, whatever.
well, that could be included in this document, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying that,
Required drawings.
I'm saying that
Yeah.
the approach that's being used there,
I think I did a conveyance for my property. I don't think I did that one, bill of sale.
right, and like, Susan did basically, basically dictates, a sewer over
Oh, yeah,
to the.
okay,
town.
gotcha,
So
yeah,
I'm not sure. I know the port needs to be warranty, and I don't know if these different things. There was, when we were negotiating, as far as our water system leaders, earlier on, there was just, the attorneys put something like warranting a certain capacity, which was. And I'm saying that it's only, I've had it in the ground 12, 13, 14 years. Where does this end? If you want to make a provision that says, okay. Nothing, nothing that's mechanical, physical, everything breaks in time. Maybe there's some factor, something, okay, fine, I can consider that, but to warranty the whole system, it's like, how does that work, after this many years? As an example, so that's how, we ran into it when even working between us, so.
Hmm.
I mean, I know it's more than you want to hear.
well, that's stuff we have to
I
kind of
get
dig
that-
through the
I get
weeds
that
on this
feeling.
one, yeah, we'll kind of dig through the weeds on that one. Okay. Anything else on that part then? I mean, because that's ongoing,
Yeah.
still working.
No, just, the feedback on what I've provided and the discussion, so that I can move forward with, changes for, consideration later on down the way.
Well, for me, I don't know if I know enough to to ask properly.
What problems have you run into with water in your life? That's always a good start.
pressure.
Pressure.
Yeah.
Well, and then talking about pressure,
Breaks.
we have about 6 homes in the system that have a pressure problem.
Oh.
And it's not, there's no way of solving it.
7.
7, okay, it's close. But there's no way of solving that until we
have a
actually,
booster.
no, not necessarily.
So how,
The booster isn't gonna actually solve those pressure problems. Consolidation will solve those problems,
Okay,
the two systems becoming one,
okay, gotcha.
but.
Because it's a matter of
That's
flow,
where-
not just
Right,
pressure.
we are quite a ways away from getting our water system plan and everything else amended and submitted to DOH, and then once we have approval, then we can spend the money doing that.
Mhm.
And the water system needs to spend the money doing that
Right.
because we've got 7 houses that are 27 pounds of pressure.
20,
20,
18, 19.
Yeah, I mean, really,
Oh. that's
really
not
bad.
good. Let's not get it wrong.
Okay,
The issue again, so, I'll say this over and over, and I don't mean to badger you or anything. The issue is that nobody managed Larry. And so Larry gave the authorization, the adequacy in an area that you didn't have capacity. And we'll probably be able to fix this fairly cheaply by locating where that crossing is. Cutting and capping the feed from your line and tying it into my old line. And then they'll have the pressure. But, you know.
well, we're moving forward
They
with
were
it.
moving forward. But
Yeah,
just, I don't wanna harp on it, but at the same time, I want the board to understand the importance
of getting this done.
of, and how we, this is, like, the developer, like Sealand Homes. This was a shortcut that Sealand Homes took. That I told them I don't think it's gonna work well. But I'm not an engineer.
Mhm.
Nor did it seem like we got engineering to tell them what it would work.
No, he did it, just to Larry's okay.
I know.
So I guess the lesson from this is that we have our engineering in place so that we
Yeah.
have the safeguards we need on everything.
Well, that, and you don't give adequacy unless you have adequacy.
Well,
Like,
No, that seems obvious, but that's what happened.
Yeah. Well, I think we know that now.
how bad is the pressure for the 7 homes?
he says
It's
like
very.
17 to
it varies,
19.
yeah.
The highest is probably around 25 pounds, the
Yeah.
lowest actually was sub 20, and the lowest 2 put a booster in their house.
Hmm.
Sherland Homes put a booster in, but they're not happy with it. I mean, one is a neighbor to me, and they're not happy.
These are all Cedarland homes that
Yes.
50 issue? Interesting.
Okay,
Nothing's ever is always presented sometimes.
So how, just as a question for the team here, so how far down the road are we looking to be, when we can tie those two systems in together to be sufficient enough to provide good service?
My guess,
Yes, if we were to guess, just
Months, minimum.
estimate.
minimum stakes probably somewhere between 9 and 12 months,
And this has been going on for a long time, you know?
since 21,
2,
a couple.
All right, that's fair. All right. Where would we tie those in, Jeff? Where would be the tie-in roughly?
Right where the tap from the port is going over the top of my water line, so to speak, dig out and move. Basically cut the line, put a new fitting on it, then tap mine. You just drop it down and then you're there.
Are we going from one size, different size line to,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, like quite a bit, right?
Oh, yeah. 2
Yeah.
to 1.
2 to 1, okay.
And I was going from an 8, it's weird, they're going from an 8-inch that
To
doesn't
4.
have pressure to a 4-inch that has pressure.
Uh-huh. And then it goes down from there.
Then into the house.
Yeah. Okay.
And I gotta send a picture. It was one of those things I told Joe that he shouldn't have done.
Okay.
And it's a picture, it's worth 1,000 words.
and that's what our funding is for, is to marry those two
Yes,
systems.
the consolidation loan funding is for that. And that's-
Thank you for that question, Judy.
That first step in the process was getting the West Sound Engineering
Yeah.
approved, because that's going to begin the booster pump and consolidation portion of engineering. But that's a portion, it's a multifaceted problem. Because that money from the DOH loan will help us consolidate physically,
Mhm.
okay, and provide the booster pumping engineering.
Oh, okay.
But it won't solve the water system plan issue that has to be married in to show that the two systems can have this capacity.
So,
So that's a separate end that's on our end that we're
Yeah.
gonna have to come up with.
and
from
is
our
that
water system.
something that the volunteers that we have to help with that, so we don't have to pay engineering for it, or do we
No,
have
It
to
has to be engineered.
engineered?
It's
Okay.
not something that.
Is there more grant opportunities for us too? We can talk
We
about
can,
that.
we can
later.
look into them.
I didn't want to get stuck into
Generally in the past, as you know, with our plans, I mean, the one you did on all three, there was no grant. The
Right,
one you did, eventually it came through in 18, but it was done 13, started in 13 and then finally passed in 18, there was no grant.
right,
Okay.
Evergreen, water, whatever, they
Evergreen
have
rule.
loan programs, but not grants.
like,
You know, the bottom line is. There's a number of ways to skin the cat, it's just where you wanna, how quickly you wanna do different things. And
Exactly.
I've covered this with Travis, is that you could say. Yeah, separate certain things and get on the stick and solve the water pressure problem, but then you're duplicating money, and so it's kind
yeah,
of like,
no,
it's like either you do wrap it up, or
Yeah.
you get the plan for one and the plan for the other, and then later on do the plan to
Right.
wrap it up, and so. It's your call.
yeah, no, it's those, that's a
Even
discussion.
with consolidation of the two systems, without the update to the water system plan, no extra connections.
Exactly.
right,
We have to have those extra connections to literally pull in the income to
agreed,
to
yeah,
pay for it anyway.
right,
Okay,
So
okay,
it's a rock and a hard place, but
no, but you said it, that we need to do that, be working on that. It was a curious question, like, because I wouldn't have known how far out.
And on the other side of it is too, that you would have to update, you're going to have to update the plan in 4 years for sure. This just resets the clock whenever you finally get adopted, so it's not a waste. But it's coming early.
and also at that 4-year point when we are required to update the water plan, there might be some grant opportunities that we can
Right.
explore. We've got time to get there.
And we knew this was coming anyway, it's part of the whole thing.
Yes,
So, okay.
okay. Next,
Well, I think we can move on from water system for a minute. Anything else water system we talked about will probably come up in the budget and by forecasting areas, but our pier and emergency repairs, we've passed the 30-day window for response from the tribes, so it's just a matter of me sitting down and putting together the full packet for Commerce.
great,
I'm giving myself, a deadline of Wednesday of next week. I hope I
Okay.
keep that.
Great.
Very cool.
We really don't have a whole lot of new that needs to be added. There needs to be a little bit of adjustment to the commerce documents. Because we're wanting to make sure that the full funding is available for our repair needs. And then the secondary is future design.
great,
And then, of course, Marine Floats is working up another bid for to completely replace the railings around.
Yeah. it was a-
Around the block.
Got pushed one back. in
Yeah,
place.
you see how bad it is. Yeah. So. Honestly, railings replaced, and then all the repairs done. It won't look like a new dock, but it will have a different face. And it will feel much better to
good,
be out there.
I can hardly wait. That's great.
So,
I mean, that's amazing.
once we've seen that bid, for the railing, and we've already got the bid, of course, for, the other aspects. We will kind of have a good idea of what would be remaining out of the money that we have from Commerce.
Mhm.
And then we can discuss possibly the idea of replacing that finger float that never got replaced. Because that's not gonna be a quick process. That's gonna be a permanent process.
Mhm.
And
You talking about where it's lower?
correct,
area?
the lower.
Where all the
finger.
sea lions are getting on at?
Yes, right. If we can put some higher, some taller floats there. So that it brings it up to the other height, and then we put that extra 4-inch bumper rail around.
Yeah,
It'll be a lot harder for them to get up, not impossible. But it'll be a lot harder for them to get up there.
Mhm.
and we can give them someplace else that's more easily accessible.
Get a barge, like you
And,
said,
and they can go out away from, to their heart's content.
get them a barge to float on, then we can haul them away.
Okay.
There we go.
How does our insurance company feel about, as we develop a plan, because they're gonna be subject to, if we have more sea line damage, and be like, well, you should have fixed it the first time.
Right, well, they didn't want to pay us on the steel line damage in the first place.
I know.
And we were actually going after more on the damage end from the insurance company, and they came out and said, no, that float needed to be replaced. It's past its age. We're not gonna give you extra money to repair that. The money was really just for this, sea line.
Be nice for them to get a sign off from them saying, yeah, we like your idea.
Just for some perspective with our insurer, I had a conversation last week with our rep. And over the last 4 years, we have been paid out $200,000,
Including the North Shore.
which is not just our payout, it's the amount of money that they have to pay to get to that. Other contractors coming in and doing evaluations, their internal office time, everything else that they pay out, okay? We've only paid them $152,000.
Okay,
So, they have paid out $50,000 more roughly than we've even paid them in the last 4 years.
But we've had them a long time.
Had them a long time, but,
Are you talking?
I think we're very lucky that we're still with. Is my opinion.
I guess we can be looking in the horizon for our fees to be going up.
They will. We got I got an email here last week, 5 to 10% on average in all categories.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I kind of averaged it out around.
they get
Probably
it back.
80%.
We just had a bird strike one of our aircraft at the airport, and our stuff went up. They're getting it all back.
Yeah.
They get it back,
in
and
one
so
way or another.
we got to really make sure we fix the sea line back on that note.
No, the nice thing about that marine floats bid, it incorporated the caging. So,
which is
which,
a must.
yeah, which is a must. So as soon as we've got money that we can see in the PRISM system for reimbursement, we can really get on the move on that.
Great.
When is this bid supposed to be done by?
Didn't say.
What would you think it would be?
Probably, if I don't hear from them by tomorrow, can't imagine it'd be later next week. But
So we'll definitely have.
he's already been out and did the measurements.
So we'll have something to actually go with by our next meeting.
Yes, but we
We'll
still won't have funding available to us yet. The red tape of getting the funding into the PRISM system so that we can do reimbursements,
How long does that take?
as long as it takes Commerce to do it.
Yeah,
It took them 3 weeks on the will. Yeah, I think it took about 3 weeks, and they were, I think they were trying to hurry for us. Because they knew we were,
Yeah.
we were in a spot.
Well, because everything was out of sync, because we had them set up, so you're at a different point now, so.
And of course, and that was when they had everything.
yeah.
When we submitted the well stuff, there was, this little piece is about, this slightly wrong, fix this, or this little piece is slightly wrong, fix that. We had some scope issues on that.
Well, this should be for,
Shouldn't have any scope issues on this.
yeah, this should be pretty cut and dry. This is the bid, what is here.
Oyster House, got the, on June 4th, got the 30-day term started for submissions to the tribes, so we're just in a waiting game on that one. That's for all 3 of the last available Commerce appropriations.
Great.
As Judy should say, hurry up already.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
I've been growing a beard on that one.
Working through there, the port security,
There's been a
port
lot
safety
of
and
stuff.
security, I've mostly, just doing some, maintenance to, the North Shore area for some safety issues. Our, treads that, give you footing when the dock can be a little icy. Is, Don went down, removed all the dilapidated pieces that weren't quite there anymore in some places. Sometimes there was nails sticking up. So we've got all the wood strips ready to go, or not ready to go, but we have all the material here. Don's gonna strip it up on table saw and reseal it to prevent the material from going bad on us quickly. Let's see, and then also in that same launch dock, the bumper guard, I've had 2 complaints from users of the ramp that it's, there's been some nails sticking out on there and the wood is a little bit rotting in places, so we came up with a plan to put a new corner. Basically a 2x6 on the top and a 2x4 on the bottom, and just kind of put a new corner on it. And then reattach the bumper on the rubber bumper along that, but run it all the way down
Yeah,
on the water line, not have any gaps. The only gaps would be where the cleats are on the top plate. We'll have to cut those because they can't go through the cleats, but that will put us in a better spot there for the goal, hopefully we get 4 or 5 years out of that, maybe more.
Do they call in or do they email you? How do they communicate to you about complaints?
Oh, it's just phone calls.
Okay,
Yeah, these are generally people that call in and pay for like a week worth of mortgage at a time.
okay,
Because they're the ones that
just
are down there all
yeah.
the time. They're launching consistently. They're mostly annual pass holders.
okay.
I think we're up to 16 or 18 annual passes
Right.
since I started.
Did you ever get a hold of Taylor? Because I never saw one.
No, when I was talking to you, Justine had just, I assumed that they had called because she brought me over the phone number, but no, she just got the phone number.
Oh,
for me.
Okay,
So it's still a game of trying to get a response.
yeah, because I haven't seen Wes
Okay.
either, so.
Yeah, so I was gonna remind you when you do that next EDC.
Well, I did EDC this morning and he wasn't there, so I wasn't able to talk to him. But try giving me that phone number too, and I'll see if
Okay.
I can contact somebody.
Sounds good.
Okay,
And then the pressure problems at the bathrooms, I just gotta. That is the one thing we need to get done to get our bathrooms back in order, so I think I discussed a
Yeah.
little bit about it.
That's important when we have Allen Days coming up, we have
Oh, yeah. No.
summer, a lot of people using the bathroom, having functional bathrooms is kind of.
pretty important.
Well, I guess we go over to Sweetwater as we move off of the priorities here.
Okay,
You recall that the property had the entire leftover housing remnants disposed of by the asbestos company. That dumpster left on Tuesday, June 11th.
great.
can do you mind if I take pause here for just 2 minutes and use the restroom?
Oh, yeah.
real quick? Okay, thanks.
So is our meeting July 1st? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to Ellensburg that weekend, so it's kind of like, that's gonna be a.
Oh, no. I get Tiberius for the whole weekend, so my wife and her mother can go on a 3-day trip.
Oh, fun.
So that.
You'll be busy.
She was like, well, can I go these days? And I'm like, no, you've got to be back on Monday. I cannot.
Yeah, really, because you usually.
I gotta be prepared for a meeting. I'm not gonna have the sleep issues I might have by sleeping, making sure Tiberius is fine at night, because he's a rambunctious one. He just, when he wants to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, he gets up and he literally looks at you and goes, get up. No.
Wow.
Thank you. Yeah. So we also have the Salmon Enhancement Group is preparing the paperwork, for the Port of Allen to review, for that free consultation, basically. I don't have any time to work on that, so they are going to, steam ahead on getting it filled out, show it to me first before I say, okay, yep, it's such scheduled meeting.
Okay,
And then Mindy is also working on that right of entry hold harmless agreement. once it's, produced, I'd like to get, legal look at it before I present it to them.
Sure.
I believe that's
Board.
pertinent.
I mean, that's just what I was planning on doing anyway.
Okay.
And then it came in, just so you're aware, it came in this morning. Part of the new stuff that came in, the new item or the paperwork that wasn't available on the website. I will post all these additional documents. Okay. Exhibit D here from Salmon Enhancement Group about knotweed control.
Oh, I
So
don't think I put that in here.
it's just a single
Nothing.
page.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
So I'm sure this is a form that they have used with various other agencies that they have done knotweed control and eradication of hazardous not hazardous, but noxious weeds, there's the
Yeah.
right term. But it would have to be in place in order for them to jointly remove the knotweed from both
sure.
the
That's good.
enhancement property and ours.
And they're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, they get a grant
Both
actually.
properties, right?
This is just them doing the work.
Yeah, they get a grant for doing knotweed around them. Yeah, Ken,
I wonder if I might.
Sure.
speak to this for just a sec.
sure.
There's very little knotweed on the property and it's not on the salmon enhancement property. It's most. For Allyn's property on both sides of the road going in there. I've had experience with the salmon enhancement group doing knotweed work on my property. And same time I was working with Mason County noxious weeds board, and we injected it stock by stock with volunteers with Mason County. What the salmon enhancement group did was have the Eastern Infection Center come down and just randomly spray everything. So they are no longer allowed to work on our property. You really ought to look closely. I think this is a perfect example of why you should transfer the property to the county. Because they have a noxious weed board in the county.
Okay, thank you.
So I see really no reason that now we've been there for a long time. And it'll continue to be there. They have to do that every year to finally get rid of it. And I just wanted to ask, were you folks gonna discuss the email I sent?
Was,
I didn't
Wasn't in the
provide it.
plan.
I'm sorry.
Well, I sent it to them all first.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we got it.
The biggest thing I just want you folks to consider is to do away with that memorandum between Mr. Nicola and Salmon Enhancement Group, or at the very least, have your attorney look at that, because I don't, it's some huge obligations to the court that we can't.
Yeah.
You know, like,
You can't afford to take this Sweetwater property. And take title ownership of that. There's too many liabilities. Just like with that asbestos removal. I read about in Mr. Merrill's report there that an asbestos company had come to move it. The reason I think he mentioned that is that I had brought it to their attention, your attention too, that last year when they tore that building down, they didn't have a demo permit and they didn't have an asbestos permit. Was there ever asbestos identified there? I don't think.
that I don't know because we weren't on the, you know,
I only know that they had the asbestos removed because they discovered that, yes, there is a asbestos provision that they needed to clean it up.
and they had an asbestos crew come in and clean it up, so they paid the extra money for it.
mhm.
No, you missed the point, sorry, that in order to remove asbestos, you have to have it identified first. You have to.
Yeah, they
Able to identify.
they had it identified.
They, not from what I can tell, they didn't get any permits through the county.
Well, it sounds like they treated it like there was asbestos there and paid the extra money. I've not seen that, but.
It,
Are you not happy with it having?
no, I'm not.
I'm asking.
The reason I'm concerned is last year when they got ready to tear that building down.
Okay.
And the tree was removed so that they could get in there and do this tear down.
Yeah.
They should have obtained a demolition permit and had an asbestos survey done at that time. And then the asbestos people come out and identify what is asbestos and what has to be dealt with separately. You can't just throw it into a big pile.
I understand that.
Yeah,
But they hold it all away as if
I
it
know,
was.
but it was just all thrown into one big pile. They didn't tell what was asbestos.
So, you know,
There's certain.
with all due respect, Ms. Mendoza, so what we're doing here with what we got and where we're at and moving forward and looking things under and more under a microscope to do things better, if you will.
Mhm.
We're looking at where we're at and moving forward, not like, there's always
Okay,
coulda, woulda, shoulda, that, and I'm just saying that respectfully.
in that case, just respectfully ask your attorney to
Yeah,
look at that MOA of Capolis.
exactly.
I found it very odd that it was just found just a month ago.
Well, the gentleman died, I mean, so we didn't know or walk in not knowing where anything
That
was.
MOA was posted on the RCO's website last year, over a year ago, with the Salmon Enhancement Group signature on it. And off to the side, it said, waiting for signature from Mr. Capola.
Right.
That document posted on the RCO website was dated the day before Mr. Capola's was.
Okay.
So there's an
Hang on.
obvious, he never ran it by the legal folks.
Right.
And I don't think they would have approved it.
So I mean, we're doing that now.
Yeah, I would hope that you do.
So-
And we're gonna have it reviewed by, as he was saying, we're gonna have it reviewed
Not
by
that,
our lawyer.
not that.
No, not this one, we're having the other one looked at and reviewed and redoing it.
The memorandum of agreement between Capola and Salmon Enhancement Group.
For the, for access, for the,
We're
No,
not,
that's
we're not
not-
discussing
that's not the same
anything that's to be done. This is just a discussion too. You have to wait till we're gonna
yeah, but the other one, that
discuss
we were-
something to be done.
yeah, okay, well,
I would like you folks to go back and look at that.
maybe I'm
agreement.
confused. Which one it
There
was.
is some obligations of the report that I don't think the court wants to get involved.
Good, okay, thank you. We'll have our legal look at it. You were going to
Discuss it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
okay. Moving on,
Yes. Cash flow, let's see, cash forecast, even trial balance. So in the paper clipped items, you'll see some other documents.
Yeah.
You've got, one is the Port of Allen water system estimated facilities life costs. Jeff put that together to try to better bring awareness to something that hasn't been done in the past. Essentially, it's kind of putting money away for the future
Right.
repairs. If we go down the columns there's a life cost, annual, typical, and then life cost annual minimums. Where it's showing about close to 21,000 for, a typical
Well, that's
per
awesome.
year. And then the other one is like the minimum amount would be around 10,000. Those are what we would like to see, not necessarily the maximum. Of course, we would like to see the maximum.
Right. It
But,
takes time to get there.
But we also need to try to find a way to not be below that minimum. Jeff probably has a few more bits, if you'd like to add it.
Mhm.
So one, this is not done.
okay.
Yeah.
Hasn't started. It just to try to get a handle on things. it goes back to my objective is. One, to make sure that you have a safe. Take the idea that you have a safe, productive system, it's financially viable, it's financially feasible. And then eventually you shut this, that's the day-to-day stuff, and then eventually. Putting money for repairs and replacement. Currently, there's a little overlap between this chart and your budget. We have some repair type things in the budget. Now, if the board agrees with this type of approach to looking at it, there'll probably be some consolidation and straightening out. The idea where this is driving is to address the issue of rates.
Yes.
Because the port's rates are double what my rates were when I permitted. The port, other than the water line, and maybe tank, I can't remember if we had grants or not. But on the water line, we did pay out, IDB funds and then paid the IDB fund back. All that's from, grants or gifts or whatever. So I'm not saying they should be the same. I'm not saying that it should be the same as the number I have. I'm really saying is eventually, once we extrapolate this out, so we can see and how to work with the rates, because if you have 100 or 90 users, when you start looking at that over to the right, this tells you, okay, related to this one factor, you need to have this much in rates.
So like your monthly rate for the ERUs, at full, that's 1921 per ERU. That's a big difference from the minimum.
Based upon the 20.7.
Okay,
So in other words, of your 59.95 rate, 1921 should be part of that. And I'm not saying it is or isn't. I'm saying this. In other words, another component.
Oh, I see.
So you got this budget coming the other way, okay? And I asked Travis about, okay, have we paid, has the port paid, the water fund paid, the general fund for the 15% type stuff, i.e. like insurance and other things. And he said, yes, and then I asked him the amount. And then we started saying, well, the amount we budgeted over the year would work out quarterly to just under 15K a quarter. And he mentioned that they paid 9,000 something. Then it occurred to me that, okay, you're doing something over here to save you money, which is good.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of a dynamic thing on how to work these rates. I'm not saying that you have to run it like a gnat's eyebrow, but what I'm trying to do is say, big picture, at some point, people up there would like to see the rates lower.
I like this. This is nice.
So this.
I'm all for lowering
So
rates.
this is one point, this is one process
Right.
and one phase of the port's capital facility. And what I'd like to still, or to look at too, is this needs to be done for the dock and parks.
That's
yeah,
true.
this is great.
And then, and so you understand, I'm not trying to say that I got the answers for everything. And I'll tell you point blank, I'm not seeing this done really at the county level. I'm not seeing it done by other water districts.
They don't do it. This is what we need to be doing though.
Yes, in other words, you're running a financial
Government
operation,
like this,
okay?
and we're gonna have some-
You're preventing water, okay? You need to have reserves to a certain degree.
Yeah.
This at least, you may back off on the amounts. You may say, well, it amortizes this, but, you may never ever in several lifetimes replace the pipe. It's probably gonna last a long time. But the maximum any of these utilities do on life is 100 years. And that type of pipe, now, if this was steel or ductile iron, it'd have.
That's how we need to be thinking. We're supposed to make things better for the handoff, that's in life in
Right.
general.
What is your reservoir? What, are you talking about the tank up there?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, people use tank reservoir.
okay, I'm just curious,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's not.
It seems pretty cheap, really.
Money.
yeah, it seems pretty cheap, actually,
Well, and I'm not saying these are
yeah,
the right totally numbers. This is a starting point, okay?
okay.
I looked at some tanks that are like the tank you have
Mm-hmm.
to get some idea. The problem is, it's like apples and oranges. Yes, they're tanks, yes, they're the same style, but when we, after 30 years on that type of tank, is it just a matter of, so to speak, lifting the lid, replacing the bladder and putting another bladder in and away you go again?
Right, good point,
Which
yeah.
is not building a whole new tank, it's not building a whole new pad, and remember that pad's
Oh, yeah,
12 inches thick,
right,
in concrete, and rebar.
yeah,
We're not doing that again. But at the same time, but then, there's complications, because like, okay, when that occurs, how's the port gonna purvey water when that day
True.
comes? There's gonna be some opportunities. All I'm getting at is, this is a starting list of kind of the inventory of what you have, the valves, the pipe, some footages and quantity. And, to give it at least a feel, it looks like our pumps can only last about 15 years. We'll knock on wood and hope mine runs longer.
I have a question. This is off the wall, I guess, but why is well two? Obviously, that pump is smaller,
Yes,
why?
because it wasn't part of the port system in the beginning. I didn't need a bigger pump to purvey water to the 14 or 15 users.
Yeah, now if we're upgrading that, are we gonna need to put in a bigger pump?
No. If Travis can keep reins on the engineer and allows me to spice it up a little bit as far as putting in my 2 bits on it. I personally believe, okay, the port, when it did its water system plan last, had an average daily demand and a maximum daily demand. Or maximum monthly. No, it was maximum daily demand. In that calculation, I have those same things in my system. I can purvey water, or I could in the past purvey water half as many gallons per user as the port had to. So when the port designs that thing, the tank up there, they can only do 133 users. If I had the tank, if the tank was mine and doing it, I could do about 250.
It's crazy.
Because of the way you design.
And the problem is the way that system, your system's designed, it doesn't do a good job because you push up wads of water at a time.
right,
Whereas on mine, I was bladder tank dependent. And so I was able to use the PUD data and watch what was going on because there's only 105 gallons in one cycle. And it ran just fine. All these years it's run just fine with that setup. But that allowed me to see, for example, our engineer said my peak would be 41 gallons a minute, whereas your peak would be 180, for the same number, I can't remember now, but for the gross, it's 182. Well, when I looked at what was going on with ours, with 21 users, not 14, our maximum was 33. So not only is ours conservative, using our numbers, we provided the health deposit is higher than what's actually current, still by about 30%. So what I'm getting at is I believe the port should be able to get to a point where they get to similar numbers. We're basically purveying water to the same users. You have commercial, I don't. But your commercial users generally in this group, at least in Allyn, use less.
Oh,
Then you're-
good point, yeah, true,
And
that's true,
so now there's gonna be an interesting factor with the memory care. Because that may have a different factor, but all I'm getting at is. If this engineer does what we've been talking about and goes down this path, then we should be able to survive with this pump being still this size for a while. And get more users without having to invest another, $15,000 plus pipe plus, breakers and all that kind of stuff. Because when you upgrade the pump that's in there, I've done the calculations. We will need to update it from the 5 to 15. When we do that, transformer will handle it. But the pipe will have to be increased from 2-inch that's in the well, the drop pipe, to 3.
Mhm.
And some of the hardware to the well house will have to be upgraded to 3. I know that's a lot of words, a lot of things, but. So that's why, in a weird way, you don't have to upgrade the pump. Now, we've had the conversation, Travis and I, that that pump goes bad tomorrow, well, then you gotta seriously think about, do we update it or not? Because do you spend 7,000 and update, existing, or do you spend 15,000 or 20,000?
And give you more
Yeah,
future.
For longer
capacity.
term.
right,
Triple that.
right. I do know that the pump there, one last thing.
It's my turn. I have to
Huh?
use the restroom, so I'm talking. You're okay. You can keep talking.
Oh, okay. I do know one thing, the well that you fired for me, pump time, it's only run 2,600 hours since day one. So it's not, it's been used every day, but it's not like it's been run out, run into the ground. So, anyway,
So just one of those things I noticed is like.
so we're gonna stick with budget kind of still.
Yeah, we're still.
Are we gonna be moving from budget regarding what we're talking about with the water to this, a general budget conversation? Is that what we're
That's what I'm
doing?
asking.
Huh?
Do you want me to hold it until?
Well, no, I'm ready for that sooner as we can,
Okay.
so.
And
Let's
since
look. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that's great.
Really like this though, this is,
Uh,
and I agree with the.
It's more than just a good start, it's the start. It really is, and
Yeah.
you're right about the pier. I mean, I'm just repeating what you already said, when I'm saying you do, that using that as a model for pier in the park or the North Shore, our facilities, so.
Is that we're always gonna have maintenance, we need to start planning for that ahead of time.
Along those lines. I know nobody likes to do all this work, okay? But somebody needs to think about at some point, do you create to support rate like a subcommittee
Yeah.
to do this kind of thing, because Jeffrey won't be available forever.
I know, right? Yeah, no,
There are a
exactly.
few other things relied by.
Good ideas die quick when there's not a plan to make that happen.
Right,
I mean, that would be the next phase.
yeah, but I.
You may eventually wanna go on vacation, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Tahiti or wherever?
doesn't matter,
Yeah.
or it does.
No, we're trying to hold on here, but, as far as the budget goes, a snapshot, this is good. I mentioned, so I'm just repeating what's already said. This is
Okay.
a really good model for how to do business for
Yeah,
the,
agreed.
the parks, as,
For every
most here,
capacity.
like, and we talked about to some degree of that, Travis, with, as in project management, like laying out the different stages and phases of each project, but and then beyond that is okay, fine, this is great, we get something started. Maybe we should have some community involvement, maybe, I'm throwing that out there
Yeah,
now, with
sure.
a committee to maintain the model. There's people out there that want to give back. That'd be a great way to approach that,
Good idea.
yeah.
I would,
I know that Ken is one of the many that may be more active, but there's people out there that have that interest, and we could just reach out and get people involved.
are there records for the port over the last 15 years of what we spent for different maintenance things that you can go back, records that you can go back and look at?
Sorry,
Oh, this is not consolidated.
I'm not even gonna try to tackle that.
There's vouchers.
We
paid for maintenance.
we do need to
purposes.
be doing that here.
It'd be
Not
a
fun.
hard dive into creating that, an inventory by year.
Yeah, there's no
Of
summary.
everything that was spent on maintenance. It would be, I mean, it's not impossible, but it would be, somebody would be spending hours.
Now,
doing
well,
that.
I know it's not something you could just, do. My only reason is, my point is
It'd be nice to.
this
know
is
what-
based
what
on
was really-
experience
Yeah,
and what it cost. If we could look back and go, okay, this is what we've been spending and have some
The real numbers.
real numbers to go with.
If
and-
you were to do that, this is me speaking, looking at the numbers, knowing, been around this for.
yeah.
Has been at the port meeting since, 98 or whatever,
Mhm.
whatever, just show the importance, right? There's been a couple repairs of the pump, I think.
Mhm.
I think you know, the critical thing, there's always with water, it doesn't matter, everything's critical, but one obviously important part is the pump. And I know here a couple of years ago, we had the well pump go out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, you know, that can be a starting point and say, okay, we had it for 13 years, it cost us, you know, whatever. And start that as a factor. I didn't have that number, so I seem to recall it's like around 20-some thousand, but then I saw a 13,000 one, and so I can't remember which was what.
I thought it was 13, but it's been a
It's
while.
fine. But I'm
Yeah.
saying, that's one factor we could look, because that is a critical link. The tank's been there, the lines have been there, you know, on and on and on, but
Mhm.
I mean, that's always gonna be, I mean, even in the plant, but I know that a pump's gonna go bad. Even in the booster, because you got pumps, you know, a pump's gonna go bad. And so, you know, if the exports experiences every 10 years, fine. This just starts a point for you to say, okay, we factored this based upon this,
Mhm.
and now we're going forward. If you start experiencing, you know, forgetting, looking into why, you start experiencing pump failures every, you know, 8 years,
Right,
then
to
one, in
look-
fact, readjust the factor until you go look at issues. Because there's a weird situation that happens. Sometimes I found an interesting article on some pumps. Sometimes the insulation will break down. And there'll be a short in it, okay? And the short miraculously kind of goes through the bearing. So juice is kind of going through the bearing while this is all running, and nobody gets shocked or anything, but it just is a winding breakdown of one winding. The pump still performs, but this juice is going through the bearing. Well, when the bearing is rolling around, what it's
Yeah.
doing is arcing.
yep, so it shortens the life.
So it's wearing out,
Right.
it's arcing the bearing, and eventually it gets pitted and then it fails.
Mhm.
You know, that's one side. And mine, the weak link is the controller. But you have a spare, and selling the system, I provide the spare, so that goes, you can pop it right in, yeah.
Well, let's keep going on with this and,
Next
the,
section.
Yeah,
Let's do this one first, because this
is that the draft
I didn't,
test?
I didn't put that in.
Okay.
That doesn't look familiar.
Okay,
What's that?
What's
this is a
that?
trial balance, okay?
That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Please.
Just keep going on.
Okay, I'll just, yeah, you go ahead and I'll just let look at it, so you can see.
Okay,
I can do it from talking.
Okay.
you can see that all right, John?
Well, I want, no, it's, I mean, it's okay. You can
Okay,
carry on. It's great,
There's-
man.
first of all, there's probably at least 3 or 4 different reports the board needs
Yes,
to financially run the organization. Okay?
yes.
You have 90-some customers now, or 80-some customers right now. It's, the way the system's set up is it's not feeding you, you don't know where you are with it. Without getting in the system, there's nothing being produced to say, you know, here's the current status of our user base. We need to focus on these 5, you know, bring them current. Or shut off water or whatever, you know, whatever this.
Sure, just, yeah,
I see.
So what I'm saying is. This is, you know, just don't look at the names, just
Right.
pretend it's customers, pretend it's.
Yes.
But you need to see,
is this an Excel?
I just find that one.
Okay,
I just copied it out. I have an
Oh.
old report from the days when I ran them.
okay,
But I
gotcha,
just decided not to bring that, it just.
okay,
This was a picture of something that said, okay, here's your users. Here's what they're, you know, their budget, you know, what they're spending. And here's where they are, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. You need to know that and running the out report.
Yeah.
so where do we find that program then?
Let's first. My recommendation, let's first get agreement that this is what we
Thank
want
you,
to do. And let authorize Travis, you know, let me work with Travis and Aaron to see if we can get to that with what you have.
Okay,
What I want to say is this, you're asking different questions, you're not seeing where you are budget wise and what have you. Here's one facet, this is, you have basically right now about $6,500 to come in a month related to water users plus. That's an important factor in running this thing.
Yeah.
So you need to stay, that, it's a segment we need to stay on top. It's not the whole picture, but it's an active portion and it can get real blindsided if you're not up on it.
Well, yeah, I think it'd be great if
So I'm
you
saying-
could do that.
You know, you tell Travis, okay, this is a direction or, you know, fine, that's that issue. Now, we don't know what it produces because we haven't got it yet. You've asked for the different things and, you know, you have your frustrations that you're not getting what you think you want to get out of the area or whatever. You know.
Which I can explain better, given a lot more thought.
Yeah. I take the tact that your person that's doing the billing and all this is a technician. They're not strategically looking at this. They're doing the work to produce.
Exactly.
And so you don't try to force everybody to see the 30,000-foot view.
That's
There's
right.
people that do that and people that do the, hey, we gotta get these numbers and then get it, so you gotta report. You have all the data, it's just how we get that to present, but this issue is that a look you wanna look at, you know, forgetting the color and a little bit of the data, what have you, but basically, you see your users, see where they are, where you want to go, and then what they've been going over time, are they current, behind, or just what?
I think it'd be helpful. You know, and that's something that we could, I mean, we can't do any action on this today, but I think it'd be really helpful.
I
That
think
way we know where every
100%.
person is at.
I think it's a good idea too, but it's,
Okay. And I agree, when you get the regular meeting, then you go further.
Sure.
So this, you know, don't want to tie up everybody trying to go through this kind of thing.
Right.
Okay,
So obviously you've talked to Jeff about this, so what's your thoughts on this one?
No, I mean, this has just been a point of, not being on the same page to, have what the commission wants to see in a trial balance.
Okay, gotcha.
And just providing this document as an example of the direction that, we are going.
Yeah,
And we will just continue going that direction now that you kind of see.
I think it's a
What it
great
looks like.
tool. Yeah, it's a great
No.
tool.
that's something we can do an action on, now you
No,
know how
no,
we feel, you
no.
can just say, okay, and I'm gonna do that. Okay,
So I am not at all interested in creating any busy work for anybody. But we do need an R on, we're moving in the direction that I was going for here.
okay,
Cause but it's one of the strategic tools, this is a tool for them. So like, this is,
but I mean, if.
Yeah, this is a-
People ask you, you know, constituents ask you, where are we like with the water fund?
that's right,
You need, I can't answer it,
no,
it's, if I ask him,
yeah,
it's a day later, he tells me.
yeah, no, I mean, it's,
You know, and I'm not saying that's bad, I'm just saying that you need at least a monthly, and
Yeah.
whether you're 30 days behind or current, it really doesn't matter in the sense of how to communicate with the public. You don't know, I don't know, he doesn't know. That's what I'm
Right.
trying to get to, we all know, or have a capability know.
right. And we
Well,
don't,
that'd be a great tool.
yeah, and this is not something you'd have to go back and do for a whole bunch of
No,
historical
This
things.
is today.
This
going
is like,
forward.
this is what this is where we're at right now. We plugged it in for the customer.
Right, this is like one segment not related to budget, or
Yeah.
impacts it.
So,
It's just a picture of one portion of your operation.
I mean, here we got a model for what we need to do that we talked about for the water system, right? You know, looking at that. Okay, and that's a good model for how we should do things when it comes, I agree with that, with the pier and things like that. There's just one more piece of this puzzle, it's the big picture.
Are we ready for the third piece?
And that's to me, that's the biggest, most important, not because it's not any more important,
No.
but because it's about us making decisions and informed ones about where we're at for the next month and through the year. So yes, I'm almost ready, because I want to make sure Travis doesn't miss anything.
This is very budget related. And this I didn't have from Aaron until today. This is a summary sheet on the Cedarland final balance.
Okay.
Okay.
That's bigger than my budget.
Is there?
Just an extra copy. that's-
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's,
All right.
it's separated into owner portion, service connection, owner total, and tenant portion. The, they requested that we separate that what the tenants should owe from their move-in dates to what the owner would have owed because they hadn't paid until a tenant moved in.
Ouch.
So you can see the owner portion is nearly as much as the tenant portion. If you go down to two totals.
That is so
Right.
cool.
And then the service connections, of course, are what they are. Bringing that total due to that total amount there at the end. We have individual billings for all these, so they can see them all separated. And
And see,
this is where we're at. We're ready to submit.
so this report, and we don't know yet how the mechanics work, but taking that last report was showing the age trial balance.
Mhm.
This would somehow feed that. So that then you could get the spread, because you need to know, okay,
Mhm.
this is great. But you need to know, if somebody is fairly current, and not in part of that number, that's one thing. If somebody is real in the past, that's another thing, and so you can't.
Yeah, no.
We kind of know because we're feeling this, but.
So this is in part from this, that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and we need to know how we got here with
Yes.
some,
Yes,
but this is super, because this is the other part of that picture with Cedarland.
Right.
yeah,
Okay,
are you ready for part three?
yes, I am.
Part three is those Excel sheets. And
Mhm.
there's,
Draft test examples.
yes, I printed there's three different sets. Okay, one was like 4 or 5 pages,
One, two.
the reason there's three sets, is so. I don't want to confuse anybody in the process, but.
If you have different tabs on this one, I just printed the first page.
No, that's on first page, one else. Okay, so the one that says draft test example, that's a starting on page.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The one that says for revised 2024 budget, that was the one we were working on.
Okay.
That's, there's two of them. There's one that's this one page that basically only shows expense for human resources and administrative, okay?
That's the very back.
Yeah, on our side, yeah.
Yeah, because Mike wasn't here, I kind of had to.
No, this is good.
Okay, so what I'm saying, like Mike, is the one that has this very detailed, there are 330 budget categories in the report, okay? I just printed out one page so you can see how detailed look for the general fund, for human resources and administrative, okay? Just so you have the picture. Okay, then you take, okay, so you have that as the background. Then we have this, there's 3 pages. Yeah. That says, it's basically, you don't know this, but as you recall, the Excel sheet for the budget has compression, meaning we can hire, if you want to just see what the water fund and general fund is, we can see that 2 numbers, that's the whole budget, revenue and expenses.
Mm-hmm.
There's a second layer that has the main subheadings, which is what I think we produced for the community to
Mhm.
see, like payroll is this much, this and this. There's a third layer which says, okay, how much you spend for, director, how much you spend for staff here, all the nitty gritty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's your budget. The issue I'm trying to address here is how do we know where we are? So when you get a bunch of vouchers in front of you, you know where we are. That doesn't say you don't approve the voucher, it's just saying that where are we
That's,
relative to
Yeah.
this expense, okay?
yeah.
Because there's no way I can tell that I can see, you can tell. So I could not find a good report that did that the way it did part of it, but not the other, or vice versa,
Really?
which is interesting.
Yeah.
Which makes, I don't believe I'm inventing the wheel here. I hope not.
I hope not.
Okay, so you see the summary page.
Yes.
Okay, so then this one page, that's the draft.
Yeah.
What that is to give you an example, that if we took the Excel
I like this.
and of our budget,
Mm-hmm.
front page.
And then have output. Hopefully would be to send output out of your accounting system to, the first objective would be try to get it to the cells, to a point of sale. If we can't, worst case is, you get this list of categories and somebody spends 15 minutes and goes down to 300 items and put numbers in.
This is just an example, all right?
Yeah.
Okay, I should say it.
No.
When you look at the
exactly.
numbers, you're like,
Yeah, the numbers are.
right? Okay, no, I'm liking
I'm
this.
not-
This is bringing some joy to my heart because I'm telling you, this is what I'm looking for. This is what you just, and then, yeah, this is it. Cause then you can see each month as we go
Yeah.
through to the
Yeah.
end of the year, what our budget actually did for us and where we're at.
Well, and
Well, and if I might add, the only way that we're gonna be able to actually facilitate this properly is if we move our monthly meeting.
Okay, that's where I'm waiting for that. That's,
Yeah.
well,
And
this
not
is,
get reports.
this is the third thing,
And
and A and
have all
B.
this available for you to review
right?
without getting a little further past the first Monday in the month, because we don't get them until the first Tuesday in the month on average.
Yeah,
From the
commit-
county.
Commissioner
next
Judy,
day.
we cannot effectively, with this work that they're putting this, which we've been
Oh, I
asking
get
for.
that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I get that.
Really important.
so let me then just kind of explain so that, because I didn't take the time to write it up. All I did is take the time to try to produce it, so that I could have something for your workshop.
Right.
So in effect, we'd be using the same format as your budget, so that's your first leading off, your first three columns. And you can control this by either full detail or squeezing it down or really summing it up, either one. One of the three. So then obviously you come into, what are you budgeting for the year?
Yep.
Then what has been, what's remaining? And what's the year-to-date amount spent? And what's the percentage to that point? And then what's forecasted for the rest of the year? Now, the forecast comes off of, basically the vision off of what you're budgeting, not. At this
Actual.
point, it's a little more complicated than that, because it can get into all kinds of things you can do. And I don't have the thing worked out correctly as far as gross percentage of total. I don't like my definition there, but when I'm trying, that column, what's gonna show is whether you're over or under,
Yes.
okay? So obviously in the first line there with the executive director, the $100,
Right.
it's over from where you're supposed to be at that point in the year. The next group of columns, which you see 6 of them, I only broke one up. That is where this program would feed data into, if you can do it by program. If we cannot, then somebody comes and tallies it.
Okay,
But in the report, these are actually squeezed down. You will not see this. This is the feed for the software or the person to put the data
You
in.
not see what?
You're not, this gray area.
see it on the
Or it
report.
says software use only going
Yeah,
through.
you won't see it on the report.
Oh, okay.
You want- that is the tables that are controlling what's
Alright.
happening.
Alright.
Month to month to month to month.
Alright.
Then the 3 columns, I'm not showing, I wanted to show months, but the problem is it gets so wide
Mm-hmm.
and then it gets so small. And if I can't read it, you're not gonna read it.
Right.
Agreed.
And so I took the approach and said, okay,
Yeah, I appreciated that down into, not quarterly, but
right, so I said, okay, what's the
That's
next 30 to 60 days?
Mm-hmm.
Then what's the next, 60 to 120?
Yep,
123.
And then to the rest of the year. And as you go through the year, some of these columns will start to zero out because you only have 120 days left in the month, or you don't 30 days left in the month.
So I have a question for you, Jeff. on
Yeah.
that. So on the, and because it is just an example, there's room for some discernment after a few times of doing this as to what those categories should be. So basically, we know we're looking for accounts payable versus accounts receivable, right? The bottom line,
Right.
and then we would break, and you said there's 330 categories. Obviously, we're not looking to do that. What we are looking to do is bunch of that together so we can see where.
Well, from the standpoint of whether it's a technical person just logging this because the software will do it,
Yeah,
or we're updating it for software. Every month, you're gonna write, if there's 0, there's 0. The only way this is gonna work, if you start creating exceptions to what gets posted or not posted, you don't know whether it was done. So every month, all 330 categories are hit with some, what was get paid,
absolutely.
or if nothing happened at all, it's 0. And
okay,
it gets loaded
that's
in
good.
the cells.
Uh,
So
It's
that if you had
recognized.
to reconcile it, you can blow the shells up and say, where did we screw up?
So this would be just a little small, right?
It can be one of three ways.
Okay,
When I say it's already set up one way.
okay,
Through controlling of how you filtering, it can be one of three reports. In other words, what they see is all 330.
yes,
What you can see would be like the 3 pages that I was giving you an example of. the summary.
okay, I see.
Mhm.
And if you're really in a hurry to want to know, you can sum it up and you basically, the income, the revenue for general, the expenses for general, the revenue for water, the expenses for,
That's great.
But where's the comparison?
I can say the person.
Bear with me.
Yeah.
Where's the parallel, the contrast comparison, whatever you want to call it, with that report showing where we should be? Which is where you get the positive, we're up above that in dollars or we're below it. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Would that be in the percentage?
Are we
You're
on,
looking for
I don't know, well, it's not so much a percentage
You
thing,
want actual
Well,
dollars.
yeah,
first of all, the budget, like take the example that Director at $100 here. The 25 remaining budget, that's what's remaining based upon what you budget.
oh, so there it is, okay, you answered it,
And then what's the year to date you pumped in there?
Oh,
so
yeah,
far?
yeah.
You
Okay.
you pumped in there $53.32 so far.
so that could be a negative number if we're not on cue, correct? Remaining, is it,
The remaining budget, yes, could be a negative number.
It wouldn't be a remaining in the sense of negative because it's always assumed you got a payroll.
oh,
You see what I'm saying?
yeah, so I'm looking, you know what I'm looking for there.
You want another number.
Well, I don't mean that I want another number because I need to ask the question, so because it's not about what I want, right? It's about it's what we see and.
What's gonna work?
What we see, so like, for example, in July's meeting. If we, in a perfect world, if we had this, right, I would be saying, okay, based on the budget we have. You know, cause I'm not the smartest pencil in the drawer, but I like to take the extra time to
Right.
have some discernment here, right? But I'd be able to compare with what we budgeted for where we should be on the 1st of July. Projected with the budget we approved and where we actually are. And is it a negative or positive in that category? Positive versus accounts payable versus accounts receivable.
In this report, we could say don't do the percentage, we could probably give a number. I haven't,
Okay,
look, I only have so.
that's
much
a
time.
position
I
report.
have only so much time in life, like always.
Yeah,
This is my first push at trying to give you what I think is some of the problems when I create this, I try to go in my mind, okay, what are the problems the port's having? What happened the last 5 years?
Right.
How did we get to these different points?
yeah,
And I'm trying to address, forgetting the policy issues and all that kind of thing.
yes, sure,
In the report issue, I'm trying to address those
yeah,
shortcomings.
okay,
And hey, if you say, hey, I need to really see dollar, how would that look? Okay, I made a note.
okay,
And
all right,
I don't have to put percentage.
That
It's
was-
just a shot
Yeah.
at this.
yeah, where we'd actually see either a positive or a negative number there.
Right.
Based on the beginning of July or the beginning of August coming into the new month, it's like, okay, that budget is not only working, we're actually getting some reserves extra out of it
Right.
because of the way we cut back on things, right?
Mhm.
That's what I'm looking to see if we're doing.
I would agree with Travis that if you truly are getting the numbers the first Monday, this would be more meaningful if your meeting is sometime after.
Yes,
Because otherwise you're gonna work with 1 month in the rear, which is not the end of the world,
right.
but you know how people are, it's like, what's today?
So is that an action item that we have to do in a public meeting to change that?
Yes.
meeting?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
But we can still talk about
all
it
right,
now, right?
sure.
The idea is that we just moved it to the second.
Yeah, I was looking at my.
Don't say-
Can I
have
throw
to
out the
be-
second Tuesday of every month?
Cause I was looking at my, I can't do
That
Tuesday.
might be hard.
No, I
Um,
don't know.
But I was looking at my calendar a
start
minute ago,
somewhere.
well, doing second Tuesday, the only thing is, you're gonna end up with Columbus Day and a couple other things. But or Mondays, I mean, second Monday.
Right,
But other than that, it's not that big of a deal.
First Monday of every month, at least once or twice a year, we're having to move the meetings. because of
Yeah,
all of it.
That,
And-
and then it doesn't work, it's not fitting with the money's report we get back from the county. So look, I'm just throwing that out there, something to think about that I'm gonna throw back out there on Monday night's meeting coming in July, that's all I'm saying.
I agree that we should move it to the second Monday. We can't make a decision.
Monday or Tuesday?
Monday, second Monday.
Oh, good. Well, I'm gonna bring up Tuesday.
I have something going on every Tuesday, so
Okay.
Tuesday nights.
Then I
I
wouldn't-
cannot do Tuesdays.
So my question is to the board. Does this get you closer?
Yes,
Absolutely.
This is really helpful.
it's helpful and it's
And
good.
Very
I'm
much.
pushing a little harder because I wanna get there so
Right.
badly, but no, this is beautiful. I mean, are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
The board has to understand that this may come from the program or may not,
Right.
but in either case, it can be worked out, because when you have somebody posting, there's always a possibility, an error.
Yes,
Well,
You've already had a system post once, and now you're having somebody post again.
yeah,
But I have some ideas on how to have that very quickly cross-checked,
okay.
and so that, but one problem at a time.
There is a coding way to put the barcodes in from the Springbrook system so that they automatically upload it to this system.
Right,
Oh, that'd be
There is a
fantastic.
process, but it'll take some investigating and it may, we may be doing it manually for a little while
Yeah.
before it gets done, because
Sure.
it would take some time.
and I fully see, if there is a number on the one system, the number can be in here also, the same code. And that, in my mind, would start to give, if there's a provision that's not.
I see.
To say, this goes here, this goes here, that knows it's supposed to here.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I can't find any other easy way, other than to have this gray area which you won't see in the report,
Right.
for the system to post it, so you can put it.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Yeah, wow, that's great.
One last thing
Yeah,
on the budget. It also, going back a little bit to that 85 balance, the 90, with the 90, and all that. I'm not sure yet how to work it, but I would recommend at some point the board look at doing that same approach that you're using for your users to these various projects. Because
Yeah.
my opinion is there's well, this observation opinion, but against totally right, but we're missing things. We lose track of things. People, things happen and we forget to collect on a graph for this or not such things.
yeah.
And that can be a similar setup, it's like, you have an outstanding thing. You just need to know that on the Oyster House, that you have, $10,000 outstanding that owed you for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know on the water grant or the loan. You have
Well, there's the beauty of that too, is we could extrapolate doing the thing the same way in the other areas, that it'd be much more efficient. And extrapolate from that, from the same place, in the same manner we're doing the water.
Oh, I should remember one more thing.
What's that?
I sound like one more thing.
Oh, my favorite shows. All right.
Uh,
A lot of people don't even remember that show. It was a good movie.
My observation,
2 hours.
I'm never happy when money, I understand why it happens this way, but like, take the bond. The $22,000 that I see here.
Yeah.
You can't see that,
True.
That's true.
and as the public, we don't even see it on the other side when a fine does go through. We need to look at that,
Yeah, really.
and
Literally, the
Right,
only way you
everything.
find out about it is if I make sure I put it in the financial report like I
Right.
did last time.
Yeah.
So you can see, oh,
we.
That's connection.
ratify the fact
Yeah.
that this is happening even though there's no choice.
In
It's already approved.
an age long ago, I'm starting to get older, things are going back further.
Are we going back to 1998 again?
No,
Okay.
we're going back to 70.
Oh, my.
When I got out of high school,
Oh.
76, no. In the late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
Dad had the business. He wanted to see, he had the same problem you're having. And the software wasn't set up to see. We had loans, we had car loans for the business, so we had, different things. He wanted to see going out into the future what his obligations were. And there's probably a method to work with the system, we'll have to think it through. Where when you get a bond and it has a life of 5 or 6 years, and say it has 2 payments, so you got 12 transactions, that you load all 12 transactions into the system. But they're due out in 2026, 2027, so on. If you get to that point, it's not a lot of work and just another bill. And you get that all set up, all of a sudden you're beginning to see, where you are, what's coming down the path. And you'll go back to and I want to say this too many times, compare your kayak park to Sweetwater, and you'll say, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Type thing. Or you say, hey, we can do it, we can afford it. But at least you'll be speaking from some knowledge of where you are.
Well, see, like in the 90s, when I had my business for almost a decade, like about 8.5 years, I used Peachtree. I could get any trial run on anything I had based on whatever contracts I may or may not be coming up that's gonna pay off.
Sure.
And then I also had to make payroll before the monies would come in, and I had to see where I was at. I could, but we're dealing with a government program here, so that's why it's so much more unfriendly, trying to extrapolate where we're at from that to where I understand what I'm looking at. The real financials of the world,
I think this will get the port eventually to being able to at least see in advance when the crisis is coming, because what we ran into there at the end of the year, that was not good, so.
Okay,
Thank you, Jeff,
thank you very much.
for all your work, and
It's only to help us all, so we can all rest at night.
thank you.
You're welcome.
You didn't have to do
Did
that.
No,
that,
I didn't have to do this.
did that award we gave him and everything else he's doing for
No,
us?
yeah, we didn't have an yeah, copy too. Yeah.
Anyway, no, this is really helpful, man.
I don't need awards, I just
No, I know that, but
find joy comes in seeing something that I see has to be done. And it actually occurs and it goes like I said, like when we're building this house out of Illinois. If I can estimate how prices come in, and it comes right in there. It makes me smile, it makes my day.
no,
It's stupid little stuff, but to a lot of people just know it. But it's taxpayers paying money into the system and I'll just let me put it this way.
Yeah.
Get a picture. Ben, Missouri would like me to do this. He
That's
just
true.
Said, oh, good,
yeah,
thank you.
right on.
So,
Ben was a great guy. Yep.
yes, it's more than I wanted to do and more than I anticipated, but
Yeah.
I just think it'll allow the board to make its decision, so whether you do.
Yeah.
a part or don't do a part, forgetting the regs, although I still stand by those regs, but knowing that you can or can't do these things, and my observation is, we're gonna have to run a tight ship here for about 5 years.
Yes,
And I may be wrong on that, but, and I hope that the board starts this process of budgeting here soon, because we need to figure out where we're going to be. Because there's a lot of assumptions made in that budget, and we just need to see where we're at.
I believe too, part of this conversation, I know we're wrapping up, is, and I'd like to see this on the agenda, because I'd like to bring it, and if you both agree with me, is to have that conversation about how we reach out to the community, to develop a small couple of people who want to be on a committee, that want to give back to the community in helping us take this to the next level step. It's not a one-person show, right?
Sure, oh, I'm
So I
totally,
know we all know that, but I'm saying that's just, I want to see us put that on the agenda if you're okay with that. And then at that, and at our meeting, actually have a discussion about how we go about drawing and getting attention to that, to get people who'd be interested in doing that.
I've got it on the list.
Okay,
Yep, we got 20 seconds and Zoom's gonna cut us off.
right on.
The
Okay, I'm good.
almighty Zoom.
okay, anything else? Meeting adjourned,
Okay.
It's a 2-hour limit on Zoom.
okay.
It was Brad Buster. Thank you for your
Thank you.
input.